So interestingly, my great-grandma, Lillian Downey, she grew up about 20 minutes from here in Rock Hall. There's still a street there called Downey Avenue where they grew up. And so I launched my campaign on the pier in Rock Hall, and I am from this district. I grew up on a small farm in Carroll County. My parents still have that farm. I have a farm that's near theirs as well. And so I have deep roots in this district, both on the eastern shore and and in the northern counties, which will still be a part of this district, I think. I am the only candidate that actually went to public school here in this district. And when I went to public school, we didn't have universal kindergarten, and everybody finds that shocking to believe, but it's true. And so I went from first grade through 12th grade in the Carroll County public school system. You know what? I was taught how to write, and when I went to college, I went to Franklin and Marshall undergrad, and then Columbia University in New York for a graduate school program, and Georgetown Law School. But I will say that because I learned how to write, I was able to compete with the prep school kids from all over the world, and that really helped. And I learned that growing up in a rural community. And I've learned some other things when I grew up in a rural community. We help our neighbors, we keep our word, and we're grateful for the blessings that we have received. And so this has hallmarked my life from the beginning. So after college, I was choosing between law school and the Peace Corps, and I actually matriculated into law school, but I chose to go to the Peace Corps, and I went to Botswana in southern Africa, and I was in a remote village, and I started a junior secondary school, like a junior high school, in a district that did not have a junior high school. And so, you know, where I was in that little village in Kasane, Botswana, the kids were able to go to 6th grade, and that was it. And because we built up a junior high school and then eventually a high school and beyond, it turned out to be a very successful track for kids to be educated and to grow. So after Peace Corps, I went to Columbia University and studied international relations and political science. But really, I decided that I needed to go to law school. I wanted the skills, I wanted the critical thinking capabilities, I wanted to be able to solve big problems. And so I went to Georgetown, which has a very strong international law program. I had a Ford Fellowship even in international law, and I worked as a lawyer for many years, and then I joined the Foreign Service as a lawyer. And so served in South Asia and in Central Asia and a lot in the Middle East, representing America on really many of the toughest challenges of this century. Because the whole family was with us the entire time. So we were in South Asia during the 9/11 attacks, and we were living in a Muslim country, and you know, our whole family just decided that we were going to be the best representatives of America that we could. And after that assignment, we went to the Muslim countries of the former Soviet Union, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, all the stands that were a part of the Soviet Union. And I studied Russian and actually track Russia pretty closely. So we lived there, and because I was doing so many edgy assignments, I was asked to go to Israel, Palestine, to the West Bank and Gaza mission at USAID, and it was just a series after series after series of conflicts. We were involved in them. I mean, our family for sure faced rocket attacks in Tel Aviv, and we ran to bomb shelters, and you know, we understood what it was like to live in an environment where there were suicide bombers, and the whole family went through that. And so we all served, really. We all served. But when President Obama came in, he appointed George Mitchell, the former Senate Majority Leader, and the negotiator of the British-Irish Accords, to take the lead on Israel-Palestine. And I was the economics advisor on the negotiating team. Yeah, it was really an extraordinary experience. You know, I like to say that George Mitchell, you know, he was in charge of the top 5 issues between the Israelis and the Palestinians, but there's 1,000 issues, and I dealt with all the 995 other ones. You know, how the schools worked, and you know, where the roads and bridges and healthcare systems and trade and economic opportunity, and how the two folks, you know, interacted with each other. And that's really where I cut my teeth. I will say this, after Israel-Palestine, I also did all the cross-border work for Syria. I led the response in the Persian Gulf. I was the first into Libya, and so I have a series of experiences representing America at times of conflict and crisis. And I will say that the Russian invasion of Ukraine is most worrisome to me. And in particular, I think that there's a number of risks that give rise to America. I mean, we see it right now with the gas prices going up and inflation and the lack of, you know, I mean, there's going to be food pricing spikes, wheat and other agricultural products coming out of Russia and Ukraine are going to go off market. And so we're going to see a sustained economic pressure here in this district. But we are also seriously going to face, you know, potential friction points between Russia and NATO, which will have profound effects on us. And I think there are adjacent risks with Iran and China and the North Koreans. I mean, the North Koreans just launched intercontinental ballistic missile. So many risks are ahead of us. It's a tough and dangerous time in the world today. I think that whenever there's a crisis, and this is one of the biggest crises of since World War II, whenever there are crises, there are also opportunities, and that's very much the case here. I think America has an opportunity to thread, with the right leadership and the right vision, to thread this dangerous time to help build that next American century. And I would like to be a part of that. For this district, there are unique opportunities, and for the state of Maryland. I mean, it's for sure the case that American production of oil and gas will have to fill the gaps of Russian oil and gas coming offline. And some of that will be you know, shipped from here. But in addition, I think the biggest opportunity that I see is for our farmers to fill the food gap. Food prices are going to be sky high. There will be food insecurity and food grievances, and the American farmer and the Eastern Shore farmer can do what they always have done, and that is to sell to the world and help feed the world. And I'll just give 2 quick points to that. The spot future price for soybeans is at a record high right now. And so if you are a farmer here and you're producing wheat or corn or soy, you are looking at good prices. The inputs are more expensive, but you're looking at very, very good prices that we should take advantage of. I will also tell you that I ran all food assistance around the entire world, and we bought lots of American food. And lots of American wheat and soy, etc. And this is a unique opportunity for us to grow. The last thing I think that this time brings us is that with the spiking prices of gas and oil, I think that this could tip us into renewables much, much faster. And what I would specifically like to see is a decentralization of the grid, so that rural communities can more effectively, more efficiently produce their own energy and to sell into that grid. And so if you have a house here on the Eastern Shore, or if you have a big barn, you know, putting solar panels and selling into the grid, particularly a grid that is decentralized and not monopolized, will put real money in the pockets of rural communities and also create a sense of independence, energy independence, and energy liberty at the household levels. First, people are concerned about the economy and inflation. And they should be. Our economy is not balanced in favor of working folks. And you see it right here on the Eastern Shore. There's been a hollowing out of the economy. In Chestertown or Oxford or St. Michael's, they're doing fine, but a lot of the Eastern Shore economy isn't. In fact, over the last 10 years, 4 counties actually lost population. And at the same time, you see a consolidation of economic, political, and social capital in the DC suburbs up to Baltimore between 270 and 295. And so I think folks here feel left behind and a bit forgotten, and they would like the economic opportunities so that they can keep their kids at home and that they can live in their communities that they love so much, and they feel that that's at risk. So that's the first issue I hear a lot about. Secondly, there's a lot of deep concern about Andy Harris and his role in Congress. I think Andy Harris has failed to deliver. He's not respected. He's weak and fairly inconsequential, and he just simply hasn't done much for the folks in this district. And so Andy Harris needs to be defeated. I think I'm the one to do it. I mean, I think that what folks should know is that I am highly focused on the economy, putting money in the pockets of working families who live in Maryland's 1st District. I'm not going to take money out of their pockets. I'm not going to raise the sales tax or raise the income tax or anything like that. My opponent actually has on the Democratic side, but I am not going to do that. I'm going to work very hard to make sure that working families have a future and that the legacy of opportunity that they were handed, they can give to their kids and grandkids. So I am very, very targeted and focused on the economy. I mean, this is a tough district for Democrats, and I am the only candidate that can actually win. So let's just walk through some data. Generally speaking, the Democrats aren't functionally competitive in rural counties, and this is a rural district. And this is why Andy Harris wins election after election after election, even when being so disappointing. And so I have the rural counties and communities in my heart. This is where I grew up. The folks here are my parents and my grandparents and my siblings, and I care very, very deeply about this district. But, in order to govern, you got to win. And what it's going to require is a coalition of Republicans, including those who voted for Trump, but don't want Andy Harris in the mix. And some of my biggest donors are people that had previously donated to Trump and Harris. But of course, it's not simply those Republicans. It's the independents who tend to lean center-right and the whole spectrum of Democrats. We need to build that. We need to take 35,000 votes away from Andy Harris in order to govern. If you don't take the 35,000 votes away from Andy Harris, you can't govern. Now, my opponent who is running in this election has run before for statewide office and has run in the Eastern Shore, and we know her track record. She, when she ran, she raised a lot of money back in 2014. She raised $1 million. And she got 71 votes in Somerset County and 288 votes in Caroline County, 289 votes in Dorchester County. We have to win if we want to govern. I am the candidate that has the ability to build that coalition to finally defeat Andy Harris.